The cameras were rolling, the lights were blazing, and Meghan Markle was soaking up every second of red carpet attention. But then something happened that caught everyone off guard. Prince Harry, standing just feet away, turned back toward his wife with an expression that sent the internet into overdrive. In a matter of seconds, what should have been a glamorous humanitarian awards moment transformed into one of the most talked about viral videos the Sussex couple has produced in recent memory. And trust me, that is saying something. The clip is short, incredibly short, but people cannot stop analyzing it. Harry gets pulled aside by a festival staff member, leaving Meghan standing alone in the background. She glances back, seemingly confused as she realizes her husband has stepped away without her. For someone who typically stays close to Harry at public events, being left standing solo, the moment definitely raised eyebrows. Body language analysts are having an absolute field day, and royal watchers everywhere are asking the same burning question. What does this moment actually reveal about the dynamics between these two? But here is where the story gets even more layered. This was not just any random event. This was the World Mental Health Day gala, where Harry and Meghan were about to accept their Humanitarian of the Year award. The same couple whose charitable ventures are facing mounting scrutiny, whose public appearances are generating mixed reactions, and who, according to witnesses, seemed less than enthusiastic throughout the evening. The contrast is striking. People who were actually in the room that night are sharing some fascinating observations. According to reports, Harry appeared subdued, anxious, and exhausted during what was supposed to be their big appearance in New York. One audience member described the couple as very businesslike together, which raised questions about their usual public warmth. Another claimed the event felt surprisingly low-key, with smaller crowds than expected showing up to greet them. The disconnect between expectations and reality was apparently noticeable. But the red carpet moment, that brief viral clip of Harry being pulled away while Meghan waited awkwardly, is just the surface of a much deeper narrative. Because behind those coordinated outfits and public appearances, sources are suggesting that tensions may be building. Whispers about Harry wanting to spend more time in the UK, speculation about Meghan's feelings on reconciliation with the royals, and questions about whether their life in California is working out as planned. The public is noticing shifts, and conversations are happening everywhere. So settle in, because what happened on that red carpet is only the opening chapter of this evolving story. Let's really dig into what actually happened in that now infamous red carpet footage, because the devil is absolutely in the details here. The video starts innocently enough. Harry and Meghan are posing together at the World Mental Health Day gala, doing their usual coordinated appearance routine. Cameras are flashing, they are standing side by side, and everything seems perfectly fine on the surface. But then the energy shifts completely. A staff member, someone who appears to be running the festival, reaches out and grabs Harry's attention. You can see the exact moment Harry's focus breaks away from the photo opportunity. He turns, engages with this person, and starts having what looks like a brief but important conversation. And here is where it gets interesting. Meghan is still standing there, smile ready, clearly expecting Harry to return to her side immediately. But he does not. The seconds tick by and you can actually watch her expression change as she realizes he is not coming back right away. She glances over her shoulder, and there is this flicker of something. Confusion? Annoyance? It is hard to say definitively, but body language experts are suggesting it reveals a lot about their dynamic. One analyst pointed out that Meghan seemed uncertain about whether to stay put or follow Harry, which is unusual for someone who typically appears very confident in public settings. Another noted that Harry did not look back to check on her or signal what was happening, which could indicate a level of disconnect between them in that moment. Now, to be fair, the whole interaction only lasts a few seconds. Harry finishes his conversation with the staff member and does walk back to rejoin Meghan relatively quickly. Some people watching the clip have said it is being blown out of proportion, that it is just a brief moment of coordination confusion at a busy event. But here is why the internet cannot stop talking about it. This is not happening in a vacuum. This awkward moment is happening against a backdrop of mounting speculation about their relationship, their struggling ventures, and their overall happiness in their new life. Sources who were present at the gala that evening claim the awkwardness did not stop with that one red carpet moment. According to insiders, there was an overall tension in the air around the couple throughout the night. One witness described them as appearing disconnected from each other, going through the motions but lacking their usual chemistry. Another observer noted that Harry seemed particularly uncomfortable during the speaking portions of the evening, allegedly reading from a teleprompter with what looked like reluctance. The viral clip has racked up millions of views across social media platforms, with commenters dissecting every frame and every facial expression. Some are calling it proof of deeper issues, while others are defending the couple and saying people are reading too much into a simple miscommunication. But regardless of which camp you fall into, one thing is undeniable: the world is watching their every move with increasingly critical eyes. So let's talk about the main event. Harry and Meghan showed up to this gala to accept their Humanitarian of the Year award. Humanitarian of the Year. This is supposed to be a meaningful honor recognition for charitable work and positive impact. But according to multiple eyewitness accounts from that night, the couple's energy did not exactly match the celebratory nature of the occasion. People who attended the event are sharing some interesting observations about Harry's presence throughout the evening. One audience member noted that Harry appeared subdued, anxious, and noticeably tired, not exactly the enthusiastic energy you might expect from someone being honored at a major award ceremony. This same observer mentioned that Harry seemed to give the impression of someone who might be questioning certain life choices, which is quite a statement from someone watching in person. The witness also pointed out that Harry appeared uncomfortable during the speaking portions of the event. For someone whose new career path involves frequent public appearances and speeches, visible discomfort at these moments raises questions. Is this sustainable long-term? Are these constant public engagements aligned with what he actually wants to be doing? These are conversations happening in royal watching circles right now. Meghan appeared more at ease during the event, but observers still noted something interesting about their interaction as a couple. Multiple sources used the phrase very businesslike to describe their dynamic that evening. Businesslike suggests a professional partnership more than anything else, not the warm, affectionate connection they typically showcase in public appearances. Just two people fulfilling professional obligations together. The shift in energy was apparently noticeable enough that multiple attendees commented on it independently. Here is where the situation becomes more complex. This humanitarian recognition came at a particularly complicated time for their charitable associations. World Vision, the children's charity where Meghan has served as a global ambassador since 2016, is currently facing serious workplace allegations. Reports have surfaced claiming issues including complaints about workplace culture, concerns about how staff grievances were handled, and allegations that some employees felt their concerns were dismissed or inadequately addressed. The charity has denied wrongdoing, but regulatory bodies are now assessing the situation. The timing creates an awkward contrast. Accepting a humanitarian award while a major charitable affiliation faces investigation into workplace practices is not ideal optics. And this is not the only charitable complication in their orbit. Earlier reports indicated that Chad decided to end its partnership with Prince Harry regarding conservation work, citing concerns about the direction and execution of wildlife protection efforts. Again, these developments do not align perfectly with receiving humanitarian recognition. So the picture emerging is one of contradictions. Public recognition for humanitarian work happening alongside questions about charitable ventures. A couple accepting an award while appearing less than enthusiastic about the evening. Observers noting a shift in their public dynamic. These layers create a narrative that is far more complicated than a simple award ceremony, and people are definitely taking notice of the gaps between image and reality. Now let's peel back the curtain on what was actually happening at this World Mental Health Festival, because the reality was apparently far less glamorous than anyone anticipated. The Sussexes did not just show up to accept their award and leave. Their Archwell Foundation actually sponsored 3 entire panels at this festival, focusing on mental health issues affecting young people and online safety. These are topics they claim to be deeply passionate about, causes they say drive their mission and purpose, so you would think their sponsored event would be packed with engaged audiences, right? Wrong. According to people who were actually there, the festival felt surprisingly empty. One witness described the atmosphere as bleak, noting that there were no crowds showing up to greet Harry and Meghan when they arrived. No throngs of admirers, no excited fans hoping for a glimpse. No energy in the air. Just a sparsely attended event that failed to generate the buzz or excitement you would expect from an appearance by two of the most talked about public figures in the world. The contrast between their expectations and the reality must have been jarring. Here is where things get even more interesting. Speculation is swirling about the nature of this humanitarian award itself. Some observers are connecting the dots between Archwell Foundation sponsoring 3 panels at the festival and Harry and Meghan conveniently receiving the Humanitarian of the Year award at the same event. Coincidence? Maybe? But royal watchers are raising eyebrows and asking whether this was a genuine recognition of their humanitarian work or more of a transactional arrangement. Sponsor our panels, we give you an award, everyone gets a photo opportunity, and some positive press. That is the theory circulating in certain circles. Anyway, the audience member who attended the festival had hoped that Harry and Meghan would actually participate in the panel discussions themselves, maybe have real conversations about mental health and engage with the topics they claim to care so deeply about. But that is not what happened. Instead, each of them got up, read prepared speeches from a teleprompter to kick off each session, and then essentially stepped back. No real engagement, no genuine dialogue, just scripted remarks delivered and duties fulfilled. It felt performative rather than passionate. According to this observer, after the 3 panels wrapped up, Harry and Meghan reportedly hugged a few people who participated in the festival and then left together. Their next stop? Lunch with Serena Williams. So they showed up, fulfilled their sponsorship obligations, collected their award, and departed while the festival they sponsored continued without them. The optics are not great. It gives the impression of people going through motions rather than individuals genuinely invested in the cause they are supposedly championing. The whole situation raises uncomfortable questions about their charitable work and public appearances. Are they truly committed to these causes, or are these events just vehicles for maintaining their public profile and justifying their brand? When your sponsored festival feels bleak, when audiences do not show up, when you read from teleprompters and leave early, what does that say about the authenticity of your mission? People are starting to wonder, and the answers are not looking particularly flattering. Let's dig deeper into that phrase that keeps popping up in eyewitness accounts. Businesslike, when multiple independent observers use the exact same terminology to describe a married couple at a public event, that is worth paying attention to. This is not the language people typically use to describe partners who are genuinely connected and happy together. Businesslike suggests something fundamentally different. It suggests a working relationship, a partnership built on mutual obligations rather than mutual affection. Think about how Harry and Meghan have presented themselves over the years. The hand-holding, the lingering gazes, the way they would touch each other's backs or arms during public appearances. Their body language used to scream unity and connection. They sold themselves as a love story, two people against the world, finding strength in each other while facing down adversity. That narrative was central to their entire brand. But at this humanitarian awards event, observers in the room saw something completely different. Very businesslike between the two of them. Those words paint a picture of two people fulfilling professional obligations side by side rather than experiencing a meaningful moment together. No warmth, no subtle displays of affection, no private glances or shared smiles, just two individuals doing a job. The shift is striking, especially for a couple who built their public image on being inseparable and deeply in love. One witness described the evening as interesting to see them in person, which is such a carefully chosen phrase. Interesting. Not inspiring, not heartwarming, not touching. Interesting. That word choice suggests the reality of seeing them together did not match the public image they project. When people observe a disconnect between the brand and the reality, they talk about it. And clearly, multiple people at this event noticed something felt off. Body language experts who have analyzed the available footage from that evening point to several telling moments: the physical distance between them during certain portions of the event, the lack of natural unconscious touching that couples typically display, the way they seem to operate in parallel rather than together. These small details add up to create a larger picture that many people find concerning. But here is what makes this particularly significant. This was not some casual appearance or low-stakes event. This was them accepting a major award, being celebrated publicly, appearing at an event their own foundation sponsored. If there was ever a time to put on a united front and show the world their partnership is strong, this was it. And yet multiple witnesses walked away describing them as businesslike. That tells you something important about where things might actually stand behind closed doors, and it is fueling intense speculation about the true state of their marriage. Now we need to talk about the bombshell that is sending shockwaves through royal circles and potentially tearing the Sussex household apart from the inside. According to sources close to the situation, Prince Harry has been seriously discussing the possibility of spending significantly more time in the United Kingdom. Not just occasional visits for royal events or family obligations, we are talking about potentially establishing a second home base there, and some insiders are even suggesting he has mentioned returning to Britain for good. Let that sink in for a moment. This is the same man who dramatically walked away from royal life in 2020, citing unbearable pressure from the UK press and alleged lack of support from his own family. The same person who sat down for that explosive interview and laid bare all the grievances and pain that supposedly drove him away from his homeland. The same individual who has spent years building a new life in California, repeatedly emphasizing how much happier and freer he feels in America. And now, allegedly, he is talking about going back? The contradiction is absolutely staggering. Sources claim that Harry has been opening up about feeling pulled back to the country he left behind. His recent meeting with King Charles, which was apparently months in the making, seems to have stirred something inside him. His work with veterans through Invictus Games and other military-related projects has given him a sense of purpose and connection that he reportedly struggles to find in his current California lifestyle. Insiders suggest that Harry is realizing the transatlantic life he has been trying to maintain is becoming increasingly complicated and perhaps unsustainable. But here's where this gets truly explosive. According to reports, Meghan Markle was blindsided by this revelation. Sources claim she is shocked and furious that her husband would even consider moving back to Britain after everything they allegedly went through, after all the bridges they burned, after all the public accusations and revelations they made about the royal family. Think about it from her perspective. She gave up her acting career, her independence, her life in North America to marry into the royal family. Then when that did not work out, she convinced Harry to leave everything behind and start fresh in California. And now he wants to go back? The tension this is allegedly creating in their household is reportedly significant. One source claimed that Meghan has to face a draining, dawning reality that her husband might genuinely want something completely different from what she wants. They are supposedly having difficult conversations about their future, about where they actually want to be, about what their life together really looks like moving forward. And the answers they are each coming up with are apparently not aligning. Insiders whisper that Meghan is not someone who backs down easily. If this disagreement about Harry potentially returning to the UK cannot be resolved, people around them allegedly fear it could lead to serious conflicts. The idea that they want fundamentally different things, that their visions for the future are diverging rather than converging, is creating real concern about the long-term viability of their partnership. Let's take a hard look at the charitable landscape surrounding Harry and Meghan right now, because accepting a Humanitarian of the Year award while your charitable associations are facing serious scrutiny is a level of irony that is hard to ignore. The timing could not be worse, and the optics are absolutely brutal for a couple trying to position themselves as global humanitarian leaders. First, let's talk about World Vision. This is a major international children's charity where Meghan has served as a global ambassador since 2016. She has been photographed with children in Rwanda, praised publicly for her humanitarian spirit, and used this association to bolster her image as someone who genuinely cares about making the world better. But now World Vision is facing serious allegations that a regulatory body is currently assessing. Reports claim the organization has been accused of fostering a toxic and hostile workplace environment. The allegations are troubling. According to reports from a third sector website that interviewed 11 current and former staff members, complaints include claims that the Human Resources Department allegedly confused two black female employees with each other. Staff members reportedly said that names of non-white employees were mispronounced and their accents were allegedly imitated by colleagues. Female employees claimed they felt patronized in meetings. The charity's Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion group was allegedly told that staff members with anti-LGBT views needed to be given space too. Perhaps most concerning, reports suggest that legal agreements were routinely used to silence staff members who left after negative experiences. World Vision has denied these allegations, but the damage to perception is already done. For Meghan, who has built so much of her public persona around advocacy for equality and speaking up against injustice, being associated with an organization facing these specific types of workplace allegations is deeply problematic. How do you champion progressive causes while serving as a global ambassador for a charity accused of the very things you claim to oppose? But the charitable complications do not stop there. Reports emerged that Chad has ended its partnership with Prince Harry over concerns related to his conservation charity for wildlife. The African nation apparently felt that the conservation efforts were not meeting expectations or delivering on promised outcomes. Losing an entire country as a partner in conservation work is not a minor setback. It is a significant blow that raises questions about the effectiveness and management of these charitable ventures. So here we have two major charitable controversies swirling around the couple at the exact moment they are accepting a humanitarian award. The contradictions are impossible to ignore. Humanitarian of the Year should go to people whose charitable work is beyond reproach, whose organizations are models of ethical operation, whose impact is measurably positive. Instead, Harry and Meghan are collecting this award while defending or distancing themselves from charitable scandals. The disconnect between the recognition they are receiving and the reality of their charitable landscape is stark, and critics are having a field day pointing out every uncomfortable detail. Now let's talk about the power dynamics at play here, because according to sources, Meghan Markle is not sitting back quietly while Harry contemplates a return to the UK. Reports suggest she is actively putting her foot down about any potential reconciliation with the royal family, and insiders claim her position on this matter is absolutely non-negotiable. This is allegedly not a conversation or a discussion. This is Meghan drawing a line in the sand and making it crystal clear where she stands. Think about what reconciliation with the royals would actually mean for Meghan. It would require humility, compromise, and possibly walking back some of the explosive claims made during that infamous interview and in various other public forums over the years. It would mean acknowledging that maybe, just maybe, the situation was more complicated than the narrative they presented to the world. For someone who has built her entire post-royal brand on being the victim of an uncaring institution, reconciliation would undermine everything. The brand they have created relies on them being the rebels, the outcasts, the ones who were brave enough to walk away. Sources close to the situation suggest that Meghan views any softening toward the royal family as a betrayal of everything they went through. In her perspective, they made their choice, they told their truth, and going back now would make them look weak or inconsistent. Some observers have even speculated that Meghan may have deliberately stirred up additional controversy to ensure that bridges stay burned. Remember the tunnel recreation incident, the one where Meghan reenacted aspects of the night Princess Diana died? Critics pointed out how tone-deaf and potentially offensive that was to the royal family. But what if that was not accidental? What if that was strategic? The theory circulating in certain circles is that Meghan recognized Harry was starting to soften toward his family after his meeting with King Charles. Things that had been frozen were maybe starting to thaw slightly, and perhaps Meghan decided that needed to stop immediately. By creating fresh controversy, by doing something that would upset the royals even more, she could ensure that any progress toward reconciliation would be derailed. Keep the conflict alive, keep the distance intact, maintain the narrative that brought them fame and fortune in America. Insiders claim that Harry has been talking about his desire to reconnect with his roots, to repair some of the damage done to family relationships, to find a way to exist in both worlds. But according to sources, Meghan sees this as Harry being pulled back into a toxic situation that nearly destroyed them both. She allegedly reminds him constantly of everything they sacrificed, everything they revealed, everything they built in California. The message is clear: we cannot go backward. We can only move forward on the path we have chosen. This fundamental disagreement about their relationship with the royal family and their future in the UK versus America is reportedly creating significant strain. When two people in a marriage want drastically different things and neither is willing to compromise, the tension becomes unsustainable. And that is exactly what sources say is happening right now. So let's address what everyone is really wondering. Can this marriage actually survive all of these mounting pressures? Because when you step back and look at the full picture, the cracks are becoming harder and harder to ignore. We have got a couple who allegedly looked businesslike rather than affectionate at a major public event. We have got fundamental disagreements about where they want to live and whether to reconcile with family. We have got charitable ventures falling apart and a public image that is increasingly difficult to maintain. All of this is happening simultaneously, and insiders are whispering that the strain is reaching critical levels. Sources close to the situation claim that Harry and Meghan want different things, and that reality is becoming impossible to avoid. Harry reportedly craves connection to his homeland, to his military work, to the sense of purpose he felt before leaving royal life. He allegedly misses aspects of his old world and is questioning whether the California lifestyle is actually making him happy. Meanwhile, Meghan has apparently built her entire identity around their decision to leave, their public revelations about the royal family, and their new life in America. Going backward is not an option for her, according to people familiar with her thinking. When you have two strong-willed individuals pulling in completely opposite directions, something eventually has to give. Insiders claim that people around the couple are genuinely concerned about what happens next. If they cannot find common ground on these fundamental questions about their future, the alternatives are limited. Either someone compromises significantly and potentially resents it forever, or they acknowledge that their paths are diverging and make the difficult decision to go their separate ways. The speculation about potential divorce has been swirling for months, but it seems to be intensifying lately. Royal watchers point to the awkward body language, the separate professional projects, the reports of tension, and the fundamental disagreements as signs that the relationship is under serious strain. Now, it is important to note that speculation is exactly that. Only Harry and Meghan truly know what is happening in their private lives, but the public indicators are certainly giving people plenty to talk about. Some observers suggest that their entire relationship has been built on shared grievance against the royal family and the media. When that was their common enemy, they were united. But now that they are trying to build something positive rather than just running from something negative, the cracks in their foundation are showing. What happens when the thing that brought you together is no longer enough to keep you together? That is the question people are asking about Harry and Meghan right now. The red carpet moment that went viral, Harry being pulled away while Meghan stood awkwardly alone, might end up being remembered as symbolic of something much larger. Two people physically separated, going in different directions, unsure how to navigate back to each other. Whether they can bridge that gap and find their way to genuine partnership again, or whether this is the beginning of a more permanent separation, remains to be seen. But one thing is certain: the world is watching every single moment. Let's zoom out and look at what all of this really means, because the implications extend far beyond one awkward red carpet moment or one struggling marriage. What we are witnessing is the potential unraveling of a carefully constructed brand, a public image that was built on specific narratives that are becoming increasingly difficult to maintain. The Sussex story was supposed to be about freedom, authenticity, and building something meaningful outside the constraints of royal life, but the reality appears far more complicated and significantly less inspiring. Their humanitarian brand is taking serious hits from multiple directions. Charitable associations facing workplace allegations, conservation partnerships dissolving, award ceremonies that feel hollow and poorly attended. The image of Harry and Meghan as global humanitarian leaders is clashing hard with the messy reality of their actual charitable landscape. People are starting to question whether the humanitarian label was ever really earned or if it was just clever marketing attached to two famous names. Their personal brand as a united, loving couple overcoming adversity together is also showing major strain. When eyewitnesses describe you as businesslike at your own awards ceremony, when viral videos show awkward disconnection, when insiders whisper about fundamental disagreements and potential divorce, the love story narrative becomes much harder to sell, and that narrative was central to everything they built. Without it, what exactly are they offering the public? For the royal family, this unfolding situation presents its own complicated dynamics. If Harry does genuinely want to return to the UK and rebuild relationships, how does the family respond? Do they welcome him back after everything that was said publicly? Do they maintain distance to protect themselves from further drama? And what happens if Harry returns but Meghan refuses? The potential scenarios are endless, and none of them are simple. For Harry and Meghan individually, the stakes could not be higher. Harry is allegedly grappling with questions about whether he made the right choice, whether the life he is living now is actually the life he wants, whether he can find a way back to the things that once gave him purpose and joy. Meghan is reportedly facing the possibility that her husband might want something fundamentally incompatible with the life she has built and the image she has cultivated. These are not small challenges. These are potentially relationship-ending, life-altering crossroads. The viral red carpet video might seem like a small thing in isolation, a few awkward seconds at a public event, but in the context of everything else happening, it becomes symbolic of a much larger narrative. Disconnection, tension, two people moving in different directions, a relationship under strain that the whole world is analyzing frame by frame. So what do you think? Is this marriage actually in trouble? Or are we reading too much into awkward moments and anonymous sources? Can Harry and Meghan find their way back to solid ground, or are we watching the slow-motion collapse of the Sussex brand? Drop your thoughts below, hit that like button, smash subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video is waiting, and trust me, you will not believe what is coming next.